This episode of Paranormal Heart is brought to you by Nodakian Studios. If you're looking for a fine piece of stoneware pottery, check out Nodakian Studios at nodakianstudios.com, as well as on Facebook, where she periodically gives away pieces of pottery. Again, check out Nodakian Studios at nodakianstudios.com.
Welcome to Paranormal Heart, a place where people can talk about their paranormal experiences. With your host, Kat Ward.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Paranormal Heart. I'm your host, Kat Ward. You can find new episodes on the second and last Sunday of each month on Podbean, YouTube, and any place you find fine podcast. If you had paranormal encounters you'd like to share, you can either be a guest on the show, or you can submit them in writing, and I'll be happy to narrate your story. Just drop me an email at paranormalheart13@gmail.com. Folks, I have to apologize for not having any episodes in July. First, we had a much-needed family vacation to our home province, and it was a first-time home for me in 11 years. Much needed. And then I was having major tech issues, and I was beginning to think I had to get a new laptop, but that was not the case. Everything's good to go now, so I am back, baby! You can't keep this cat down for long. For episode 63, my special guest is Lisa O'Hara. She's a most brave lady who has survived many ET abductions. It took her many years for her to put the puzzles together and to realize what had been happening to her. She wrote a book called Abducted and Furious, How I Fought Back and How You Can Too, a true story. And it was in hopes of helping others who may have had not only ET abductions, but abductions similar to hers. And she wanted to share how she fought back. I introduce to you Lisa O'Hara. Hello, Lisa. Welcome to Paranormal Heart.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you being on here. And again, like I mentioned earlier, my apologies for taking so long to get back to you. But we finally did it.
No problem at all. I'm just glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Thanks. I think this will help a lot of people who listen to the show. If they've had experiences similar to yours, I think it'll help them a great deal. First of all, I wanted to mention in your book, Abducted and Furious, I loved in the foreword, I have to mention this first, the part where you said sleeping personality asleep. I love that. I automatically thought everybody shows a different personality with everybody, like, you know, with your family, with certain friends, with your employers or whatever. And I just kind of thought of that certain personalities might go to sleep depending on who you're with. But I know you had a different context, but that's just what I thought about. So I really like that part. And
I'm glad you read the foreword. I usually don't in other books, but now that I've written one, I've started reading them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I always have to read the foreword. You get a lot of information there too.
Yes, I realize that now.
Yeah.
Information that's actually not in the book. It's just the author's thoughts, which I didn't know before.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
So why don't you tell us about your experience and talk about the book a bit, and we'll take it from there.
All right. So when I was younger, I would have very unusual experiences, but they would just be one-time things. So I wouldn't know what to call them. When I was 10 years old, I had a reoccurring daydream that happened only at night, over and over, like 7 days in a row at night. And then on the end of that 7 days, it came true. But I didn't know what to call that, so I remembered it, but I just didn't know what that meant. I just thought it was strange. And so the same thing that happened, that kind of thing happened. I would see now I think of it, it might be orbs, but I would see flat things. When I was 8 years old, I got glasses, and so I don't know how long I really couldn't see very well. And so I would see these orbs flying around in my room and land on my bed. And at the time, I thought they were flat glowing circles. And so I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know what these are. But part of me, maybe a part that is asleep, knew what it was and started screaming, oh no, oh no. So, a lot of these things happened. When I was 16, I started having that daydream again that I was going to move to a foreign country. And I didn't want to because I moved all the time as a kid. And so I would get, I started getting that daydream that I'm going to move. And at first I thought I was causing it. But then I realized that it's just going to happen. It's inevitable. So I did. I moved to a foreign country and spent my senior year in another country. Mm-hmm. And then fast forward, when I was married, before the first time, I would have night terrors. Now, I didn't understand what those were, but I would wake up screaming anytime my husband came into the bedroom from going to the bathroom or whatever. And then I would only remember a rectangle, mm-hmm. A black rectangle. And I couldn't understand what that meant. And, just these things. That happened pretty regularly. I got a divorce and then I started sleepwalking. So these things are just really strange. They're just one-offs. I keep them in my mind so that I can think about them later. And in 2017, I thought I might be a medium. So I went to a medium and she also said, yes, you're a medium. So I started working with her, trying to figure out how to turn off my gift and turn it back on. And I also then was doing a lot of meditation and found out that I was an abductee from my spirit guides. That sort of started me on a different course, and I moved quickly from there to trying to find a way to fight it, because I was not very happy finding that out. I was scared. I was petrified, actually, and then eventually I wrote a book about it.
I've heard of a lot of abductees, but I haven't heard of very many that were terrified, yes, but as angry as you were at the time. The book was just, I really enjoyed the book, and it really gave some insight on how abductees feel. Like, I don't think I've ever been abducted or anything like that. I've only seen weird lights in the sky. I don't think I've ever seen, if I have, I've really mentally blocked it, and it's deep in there, but I don't think I have. But I mean, to me, you're very brave to write the book as well, because you know that that's going to help other people, because other people will realize that they're not alone, and maybe they'll open up a little bit and not just shut down. So kudos to you for writing the book.
Well, thank you. It's hard to write a book like this because, there's so much ridicule
Mm-hmm.
that comes from, society.
Yep.
And I hope that I can help people, because I think one of the worst parts about being an abductee is that you can't find any help. Mm-hmm. You can't find anyone to talk to. You may scour the web looking for things that will help you, but there's just not a lot out there. Mm-hmm. And I tried everything that a lot of people said was helpful, but I found that it didn't help me at all. And I figured that if it didn't help me, then it probably is not helping others. Yeah. And why should we have to live with this? I mean, it's against our will, and it's not something they erase our memories, so, it just seems so unfair, and that's why I was so mad. Because I thought, how dare they?
You also mentioned in Chapter 3 about abduction contracts. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, I was going to a medium for a while to learn how to be a medium, but then when I realized it didn't feel right to me, I still went to her. She was saying that I had abduction contracts that I had agreed to prior to coming to the Earth. And my medium, we tried everything. We tried changing Akashic records. We tried stating my sovereignty, my right to free will, demanding the archangels help me. I tried just everything I can think of, everything she could think of, but it never worked. It didn't help at all.
Wow. How did you feel when you realized that wasn't helping? Did you feel hopelessness?
I did at some points, but I just thought, you know what, there has to be an answer to this, and I'm going to find it.
Oh, good for you.
I'm not going to leave any stone unturned. I'm just going to try everything and just have low expectations and see what happens, because you never know what you're going to find, either in a book that somebody else wrote that helped them, or, you know, something you find on the web. I mean, I just tried everything. Actually, my medium had me reading out a manifesto, I called it that, because it was just, you know, something I would say every night about, you know, my free will and my sovereignty, and I demand that I not go anywhere and that kind of thing. So I was willing to try it because that's how you learn, right? Did it work? No. How long should I do this before I realize it doesn't work anymore? So I really worked on that quite a lot, and it didn't work for me. So if it doesn't work for you either, so you should try it, because you never know, then maybe my book will help you.
You know, we all know about the fight or flight, and obviously you have the fight.
Yeah.
Because what didn't work, you were determined to find something that would work.
That's correct.
Yeah. So that's good.
And, you know, I think it's important to, you know, not lose hope and not get so beat down by the situation, because you can turn it around, turn the tables. And so that's what I felt like I was doing. I just started studying them, and I started using my mind for whatever they were doing, you know, and trying to figure out what was really happening prior to abduction, what happened after abduction, you know what I mean? As a way of figuring out where to go from here. You know, if this doesn't work, drop it, try another thing, and also do some data.
Did you keep any kind of a journal to see if there was any patterns of when and where you would be abducted?
Absolutely, yes, I did. I had a journal, and I started noticing things that I probably, you know, you think that you notice things, but then when you start to really notice things, you notice more things. So I would write everything down in my book, in my notebook, and I also wrote down my dreams, and I got some colored pencils so that I could color the things that I saw. And I also watched for patterns. So if I had, you know, a plane going over my house or a helicopter on the 6th and 7th of the month, I would write that down so that way I could notice it. And so, yeah, I did write a whole bunch of data down that I don't know that was that important, but when you're initially doing things, you have no idea what's important and what isn't. And so I just wrote everything down, and it was very, very helpful, and so that I had clues. Because the thing is that people think that they don't know what to look for, but you do. There are clues before you go to sleep. There are clues with your clothes. I found that my clothes smelled on the nights that I was taken or left. And but you know, at first you just have logical explanations. Well, these clothes smell because I didn't use enough laundry detergent, or the cat boxes made it smell, or you know, any number of things. But after a while you could say, wow, I'm going somewhere. I'm leaving my house. I'm wearing these clothes. And so it's just that kind of thing where you just sort of notice your own situation. What's really happening to you?
I think too what the mind does when you're going through something like that is you're trying to find a logical explanation. You might not deep down inside believe, but in order to keep yourself sane, pretty much, you're trying to come up with a logical explanation that makes sense to you.
Absolutely, that's true.
Yeah.
And so, you know, but then you eliminate it. You're like, okay, it's not this. Okay, it's not that I didn't use enough laundry detergent. It's something else. And then you just keep going with it. And actually, this is the way I did everything was, like I did with the clothes, was I just said, okay, it's not this. This doesn't work. Keep going, you know, uncover this.
Did you notice any similarities, like certain times of the night or weather patterns or anything like that? Did you notice anything like that?
I didn't, but since everything happens at night, I mean, it makes it difficult to determine that. I mean, I tried to see if it was a full moon, when these things happened, but I found that I just didn't know. It seemed like a lot of times I had what I would hear were like helicopters or planes flying close to my roof. But when I would go outside during the day, I would find I couldn't find anything. It was as if it was just something going over my house that I heard, but was it real? Like, was it the sound of the true sound of the true vehicle? So there were just things like that, which I couldn't explain, and I still can't. But, I would just try to notice all of these things and investigate them. And then also, because can be fearful about what we're seeing, I would try to calm myself and just investigate it, maybe try to touch it, try to look at it with an open mind.
One brave lady, I'm telling you, because I'm sure there's many people out there who don't want to find out. They might think they do, but then they'll just kind of give up because it's too frightening for them. So, yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah, it is frightening, but I think for me, I just really wanted to know the truth. And I didn't want to let fear stand in my way. I just really wanted to know. And so that's why I went through all the things I went through, is I just really needed to know the truth.
Yep. You mentioned also about ETs, abductions, and military abductions. Now, did you mean military ETs or our own or both?
I think both, because a lot of times when I saw military, they seemed to be ETs, and sometimes they would wear insignias and like dark green or dark brown clothing. But I also saw a lot of people, because it seems like I'm some sort of science experiment where they're using me to do things to me, and that people are involved. So it led me to believe that it was possibly a military abduction as opposed to just ET. Maybe it started out as ET and then eventually became military only. And so I'm not really sure. I mean, it's hard to just figure out when you're asleep and your memory's wiped. Yeah. You can't figure out what really happened to you. You can see what you could see in your own mind, but there's distortions, and so I don't know if it was the military just placing something in my mind. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure, but it seemed that way. And also from a book I read called My Labs, it sounded like they were doing something to me and making me eat something. So I would find plaque on my teeth. And the night after, I wear a night guard because I grind my teeth. Mm-hmm. And I also brush my teeth before sleep. So when I woke up with plaque, I thought, what the heck? What is happening to me? Why do I have plaque on my teeth? Mm-hmm. That's another clue. What does it mean? You got to try to figure that out. So I was just trying to, read everything I could to make sense of my situation.
When I read that part, for me that was a first of hearing about an abductee talking about plaque on their teeth, and I just wonder if others have the same experience, but they just don't. They didn't put the dots together, Yeah. So, like I said, that was the first time I'd heard about it when I read it. That was. So, do you think if our own military is involved, do you feel perhaps maybe they know you're being abducted by the aliens, and our military is studying you to find out why they're studying you, or do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't know. It seems, I think that's a good point, and I probably should look at that a little closer. But because it was so, everything felt extremely negative, and it didn't feel like I had a choice or that, it was just some agenda they had. So yeah, I agree with you. I do think that could be a possibility. But at the same time, it seemed like I was having a lot of wounds and a lot of bruises that indicated to me that there was something else going on. I mean, that's just my opinion, because it seems like they were taking me after abduction, and then I would get all these bruises, and I don't know when I got the bruises, because you would think that the ETs would have a lot more better sophisticated technology to move me out of the house and not give me bruises, whereas the clunky, military might use their old-fashioned stuff. And so, there were a lot of times when I had syringe marks on my body, and I wouldn't think that the ET would use that, but yet I would have these marks, and so I didn't go to sleep with them. So maybe it was the humans, military humans doing that. So, like I said, there's just so many questions, and so I try to answer as many as I can while trying to figure out what could this possibly be, So I think it was negative, and I felt it was negative when I would look back and I would see things. I would see, people holding me down. I would be in a military, like a military hospital, like under the water. And stuff like that. So I don't think that is them studying me as much as torturing me. Wow. That's my opinion.
Having just met you, and I see that you're a fighter, and reading the book, and how you started to fight back. Maybe when you were being abducted by either ETs, military, or whatever, you were probably fighting back. That's
Absolutely.
probably where some of
with you.
You gave them a run for their money.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably like, oh no, not again, she's fighting.
Yeah, I know. Well, let's knock her out quick.
Yeah. I don't want to use this as an example, but it's the only way that I can get the wording out and watch. Have you ever watched Star Trek Next Generation?
Yes.
There was an episode where some of the crew were being abducted by aliens, and they didn't remember. I don't know if you remember that episode. Certain things. One of the characters went for a haircut and realized that the scissors resembled something that was used in, studying them, or certain tables, or just certain things, or didn't make sense, that they would trigger a fear. And then once they started putting two and two together and started talking, then they realized, okay, no, we're actually being abducted. Did you ever have anything like that, little glimpses before you realized what was going on?
No, I didn't. And if I had, I think I wouldn't have recognized them. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty knowledgeable about my memories and that kind of thing when I think back. There's some of them are gone, but I don't remember anything like that. But I have had extremely vivid dreams in my past, and so I wonder now, what if these dreams were associated with something like that. And I had a lot of prophetic dreams, or they would be like non-usable. Like, for instance, let's say there's a strangler out there, and I have a dream that there's a woman and a man and a car. I'm looking at the windshield. I'm looking through the windshield. And then the woman laughs, and then she starts screaming. And so then I'm like, I don't know, I can't use this because I don't know where that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so, yeah. I don't know. I mean, is that really me? Am I being choked? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Or it could also be that your mind is trying to make sense of what you've experienced, and it's giving you imagery for you to be able to understand it better.
I agree, and actually, all my life, I've realized that the dreams to me don't mean the things, the symbols or whatever, the symbolism. So you're right. I agree with that. I usually had the dream of being in a class and not signing up for it and that kind of thing, or not remembering that I was supposed to drop it or whatever. And so that was, to me, that equaled stress. And so that's one of the things that I really focused on was by reading Communion by Whitley Strieber, I realized that there's something called a screen memory. And I thought that the ETs were placing these screen memories inside of me, but I realized it's my own mind placing those because it's trying to protect me from trauma. So it doesn't want to show me exactly what happened to me, so it gives me the feeling of stress. And for years, I didn't know why I would have those, but now with the abduction, it kind of made sense that my mind was trying to tell me, you were stressed last night. You need to look at this. And so that's how I first started. When I read Whitley Strieber's book about the screen memory, it suddenly hit me in the back of the head is that that's what it is. It's a screen memory. And I could look behind it. I could look behind what was actually happening to me at that moment as opposed to the screen memory. So that was very, very helpful to me, and that's how I really started going forward to figure out what was happening.
I think understanding psychology at a very small level probably helps an individual get past any trauma.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that just acknowledging that trauma happened is really important, and that shows a way of acceptance, because you can get through anything as long as you can acknowledge it, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's I can't remember exactly how it's worded, but yeah, admitting there's a problem. I can't remember word per word, but like you said, admitting that there's a problem enables you to be able to move forward.
Right. And that's what that's one of the reasons why I was reading all those books, was because I couldn't fathom what was happening to me. And I didn't have the ideas or thoughts or mental imagery to understand the situation. Mm-hmm. And so the more people's books I read, I would just find these little nuggets in there about what it possibly could be. You know what I mean? So, and that really did help me out quite a bit. Actually, Whitley Strieber's book was excellent. I've read it. I probably read it a couple of years ago, and then I read it again, and it really hit me because now it applied to me. Before, it didn't apply to me, but now that it applied to me, I could just read it with the mind of what could I use out of this that would help me.
Mm-hmm. If you're okay with it, are you able to walk us through what an evening of being abducted was like for you?
Sure. Well, you would have the normal, going to bed things, and then you would go to bed. And then you would feel like a negativity in the room. Actually, that's how I figured out what was happening, is I would feel an extreme negativity. And now, I found that I had done a lot. I couldn't feel it until I had done quite a bit of meditation. Mm-hmm. And it was as if I really needed to raise my vibration enough to sense this thing happening. Like as if they were somehow able to tamp down either my frequency or my vibration level so that I couldn't sense them. But after I did a lot of meditation, I could feel it. I could feel the negativity. And everybody has, their different skills of being, if they're an empath or whatever, but when you feel the negative energy, there's something negative there. Mm-hmm. And so that's what happened, and I started realizing, and I was, at one point I was talking to my spirit guide, and I said, oh my gosh, what's that negative feeling in the room? I'd finally gotten to the point where I could sense it. And he said, oh, that's the ETs, they've come to get you. And I was really upset about that, and then I fell asleep. So that's one of the clues, is that what happens to you prior to you falling asleep. So once I started realizing that there were negative beings in my room prior to my sleep, that I couldn't see, I could only feel them. I really got scared because before, prior to that, I had felt very safe. My doors were locked, my alarm was on, and I was gonna wake up the next day and, do my regular life. But to recognize that something's gonna happen to you that you don't know that it's happening, and you have dreams but are really screen memories created by your mind to protect you, mm-hmm. then it changes the game a little, I would say. And I would just feel really scared. Now, initially I was just petrified, and I told my husband about it, and he said, oh, that's not true, and that made me feel better. And then afterwards, I just tried to catch them in the act. One of the things I did was I got I got one of these frames that's sort of like a nanny cam that turns on the camera. It was motion detected, and I would turn that on, and then the next day it was off. It wasn't off and it wasn't on, it was in between. And so things like that would happen, and I finally gave up on that. I would move around my bedroom or move to another part of the house and try to stay up all night, but I'm not 20 anymore. I can't do that, right?
I hear you.
I can't stay up all night and be okay the next day. So I just tried a lot of things, but it's really scary. I mean, you're laying in bed, you feel like a sitting duck. You can hear all these noises. You can hear, cracking, and it sounds like somebody landed on your roof or somebody's above your bed, or all kinds of, or you see a lot of things, maybe colors, shapes, and then also a couple of times I saw praying mantises next to my bed. And
I don't
really
think you're talking about the little praying mantises. I think you're talking about the ET praying mantises, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I am. And that's what I was so upset about, was because I was expecting a gray. But it wasn't. The one that was next to my bed, 2 of them that I saw at different times, were very large praying mantis, like 7 feet tall, pretty big.
Wow.
And one was trying to get me to go on her ship because I had cut my leg earlier in the week or that day, where I'd cut my leg on a sharp piece of plastic, and it suddenly started throbbing while I was laying there. It was fine before. And so what happened was, all of a sudden, I saw the praying mantis telling me, "You need to come to my ship, please come to my ship." And she was giving me this feeling of motherliness and comfort and, the feeling of safety. And I just really, since I had gone through with my medium about breaking the contracts, and here they are asking me to get on the ship, it's like, no way, I'm not doing that. She tried to convince me, and I feel like it's a manipulation now, because at the time you were sitting there trying to figure out what the heck is going on. A praying mantis is next to your bed. They're talking to you and in your mind, and you're just I was fascinated. I wasn't frozen with fear. I just could not believe that's what was going on. And so she was saying, "Please let me take you to the ship, and I'll, we'll fix your leg." And so then I said, "Well, no, I don't think so. I don't think I can agree." And then, "Oh no, well, if the bad guys get you, can we take you then?" It's like, oh, okay. But, it was just so, surreal. But the next day, my leg did not hurt at all. And so I know I was taken, I know there was something, and I know now that I had an implant. I must have damaged it when I cut my leg, and it called her. So that was a very strange experience.
I can't help think about when scientists tag animals in the wild to study them, and if their tracking devices are damaged or whatever, and they try to capture them to figure. I can't help but thinking that the same thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a real possibility, and it's very disconcerting. I mean, it's bad enough, that animals have it, even if it's for their own good. But and they knock them out too.
Yeah.
So you're right. It's very similar. So but it's very disconcerting because you didn't realize that you were in this position.
When she was speaking to you, was it verbally or empathically?
It was telepathically.
Yeah.
So I could hear it in my mind, and of course, I don't know where her lips were. It was dark, so and it felt female. So that's somebody else in another interview asked me, "Why did you think it was female?" And I don't know. It just felt like it, So, and I've seen others that seem to be male. So, just by their body language, how they walk, and that kind of thing. But that's just my impression of it. I mean, it could be that, I don't know, I guess there are female praying mantises and male praying mantises, but that one felt female and felt good, but obviously, I don't know if that was good or not.
Yeah.
I'm glad it stopped hurting, but at the same time, I had no idea I had something in my leg that would start throbbing and calling someone to come fix it.
The praying mantises, if you could describe them a little bit, were they clothed? Did they stand upright like bipedal, or do you remember?
Yeah, the 2 that I remember, the one was the female one was standing up on 2 legs, and it was dark in my room, but with all the little things that glow in the dark, you know.
Clocks
You
or
can sort of
whatever.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, or if it's a
Yep.
full moon or
Yep.
whatever. And so, you know, it just seemed to be a greenish praying mantis. And she was just standing by my bed talking to me. And the second one seemed like he was wearing something over his body, like a long coat, and walked right up to me. And actually, I was laying on the bed, and he hit me with something like a tuning fork or a spoon, and it really hurt. He hit me on my lady parts,
Oh.
and then I fell asleep.
Oh,
Oh, he
gee.
pointed at me, and then I fell asleep. So,
Wow.
you know, that one seemed male, and I don't know if it's because the way he walked into the room or whatever, but that's basically mostly what I've seen. And I've also seen a lot of spiders.
Oh, no.
Now, interestingly, I am not afraid of spiders at all. I really like spiders.
I don't.
But anytime I looked into my own mind to see what was happening behind the screen memory, I would see a lot of spiders, tons of spiders, and tons of people. And some of the people were like shapeshifters. They seemed to switch back and forth between like a reptilian to a person, and they seemed to have giant spiders as pets. You know, as their pet.
No, thank you. Oh.
Now you do get desensitized when you look at this over and over. After a while, you're just like, okay, I saw the spiders. Tell me what happened. You know what I mean? Because you see it so often. Well, if that's what your experience is.
I'm kind of glad that you said the spiders were kind of like the pets, and they're not like the praying mantises that they were doing, you know, trying to talk. Oh, no. Just, no. Oh, maybe it was like their pet dog or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
the giant spiders, they're the reptilians' pets.
Oh, good grief. No, that gives me the heebie-jeebies. You mentioned also in the book that some evenings you were being abducted multiple times. You must have been exhausted the next day.
You know, it's interesting now. I do agree with you. There were times when I was really tired, but there were other times where I felt like I'd been gone for like asleep for 2 days, and then I would come back and I would feel pretty rested. So at the same, I don't know if they actually, you know, have a different time frame than we
That's
do.
what I was thinking, yeah.
So when I would be taken, a lot of times I would just wake up and I would feel like I'd been asleep for a long time. There would be other times when, yeah, I'd wake up tired. So I think it might be different groups or different things that have to do with that I don't know anything about. On why I would feel tired, and maybe it was whether I fought with them a lot.
Maybe, yeah.
More tired. Maybe
Swinging,
that was a
or
punishment.
maybe you took a couple of them out.
Yeah, it could be. I could have kicked a couple of grays or whatever, or cut somebody, grabbed one of the scalpels.
Yeah. I kind of hope you did.
I'm pretty sure. Actually, I was on another show where a MUFON investigator was talking about them, and he was saying, you know what we've learned is that the people that fight the most get knocked out first. Because what'll
Makes
happen
sense.
is I'll be laying in bed and I'll feel a little pinch on my arm. And it's not like a pinch, it's sort of like a mosquito bite where you can feel the mosquito. And then I'm gone. The other times I'll be mid-thought gone, you know, so I'll
Wow.
be thinking and bang, gone. So he was saying that I was probably one of the troublesome ones. I agree. I think he's right about that.
Yeah. Again, it makes sense because some of the scientists who are monitoring various species of animals here on Earth, the more aggressive ones, they're going to obviously knock them out so they don't get hurt, or the animal
Right.
doesn't hurt themselves. So it kind of makes sense that
Yeah.
you're a fighter, and they're like, yeah, we don't want to get hit again.
Right. We
Yeah.
don't want the little grays to have their arm torn off. Or something, you know.
Yeah. Do you know how many different species you might have encountered? And what they were? You mentioned the praying mantis and the greys.
Yeah, I think I've seen the greys, the praying mantis. I've seen spiders. I've seen beetles and people, and different kinds of spiders. So like giant black hairy spiders and white spiders with no hair, And so I think that I might have been grabbed by the Draco. So I know there's reptilian and there's Draco, and I'm not really sure what they look like. The ones that I encountered look more like alligators. So I don't know which group that belongs to, but a few. And it felt like they were, experimenting on me and allowing other species or other groups to experiment on me. So, and I don't know why. I wish I did know why, because it's really weird. I mean, I can't imagine why they would want me. I know they took, I think they took my eggs, and I don't know what they would do with them. But when I lived in California, which is where I most recent lived, besides here, I would find that people would tell me probably 4 times a month, probably once I was 25 up to when I left almost 50, they would tell me, "Oh, you look just like somebody they know." And so I wondered, are there clones of me, floating around only in California? Because that never happens here. Now that I moved to Arizona, that never happens. And it just sort of makes you wonder. I mean, it's just one of those weird situations where you don't know why all these people look like you. And then also you wonder about your eggs. What happened to your eggs? I don't have children, and I didn't have the ticking clock. And I wondered, at the time I felt completely normal. But now I wonder, oh my gosh, is that why they wanted me for my eggs? I did have a dream or a screen memory about being shown my baby, and just asking me what I thought or how I felt. And I told them that I didn't want to tell them or I wouldn't tell it. I don't feel anything, I think I said, but I wouldn't tell you anyway, because if I did, you'd use it against me.
Yeah.
And I really believe that the ETs use our emotions against us for emotional blackmail. That's my thought.
It could be a weakness of ours, and it could be a strength.
Yes, I agree. But if they're saying, if you don't hold still, I'm going to kill your child, that's a way of controlling us.
Exactly,
so, and actually in my book, they were threatening me. They were saying, we're going to kill your husband, Bob, we're going to kill him. And it's like, okay, go ahead. That's his journey. Because, I'm not going to allow anyone to hold that over my head. That's his journey, but I'm not going to, and I told him too, if they say we're going to kill Lisa, say, okay, don't argue with them, because they're just using it as a means of control. And I've never had them kill him yet. He's still alive. So I really think it's just an empty threat, but it works with most people. And so that's why they use it.
Wow. I can't imagine how some people would react, some of the tortures that they would go through, because they've let their emotions, I don't want to say betray them, but I guess it is a betrayal, because sometimes you just can't hide your emotions.
Right.
And they would hold that against them, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is really, really evil and really horrible, because it's taking, one of the best things about being human is our empathetic nature, our emotions and our way to feel our way around in the world, and then use it against us. And do it in such a way that we have no choice. I mean, but to comply with their orders, I
agree, yeah. Do you feel that any of the ETs you've encountered, there'd be one species that would be, didn't mean any harm, they just wanted to study, and some of them would be like, no, they're evil? Or do you chalk them all up as, no, they're all bad?
I'm going to say that I do believe some have met, the contactees apparently have met ETs that are good. But, I really wonder, though, because they all erase our memories, and instead of fixing us, let's say we have, we meet a good alien, and we ask for some healing, and they don't give it to us, right? So, I don't know. I think some of it is propaganda. Like, we're here to help you, but we're waiting for you to help yourselves first. It's sort of like, we could help you, but we don't. We have a reason, but we're not going to tell you what it is, and we're still going to erase your memory. So I actually really think that some people feel that they're good, but I feel like they have an agenda. They're not telling us what it is, and it's sort of like a manipulation for us to feel like, no, they're doing this for altruism. They're using our emotions against us again, right? They're saying, no, we really need your help because we have a dying planet or whatever. So we need your help, and that's using our emotions against us again. So I actually feel that a lot of them are negative, but they use our emotions to get away with their actions. And so, when people buy into their altruistic explanation, then they're kind of enabling them to continue using us in a negative way, but they feel good about it. Well, that's good, but I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to expose them for who they really are so that everyone else can actually see, or at least look at them differently, and not accept their explanations, not take them at face value, say, well, what about this? What about that? Make them accountable. So that's my feeling on it. Yeah. At first I thought, well, maybe these contactees have a point, but I just don't see them getting us any help, if this is really happening to us, and if we really needed help and they won't help us, why are they not helping us? Why are they continuing to, wipe our memory?
Maybe they have certain rules or guidelines they have to follow. What they are, I don't know, but yeah.
I mean, I think if, a lot of people say, no, this is my spirit guide, he's my friend, he's helping me. How much is he helping you? I mean, is he giving you really good information, but that it doesn't really help you? I mean, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of people need to ask a lot more questions and hold them accountable to their actions.
Getting back to the eggs being taken and whatnot, I remember listening on a few other shows and reading as well that for the Greys example, because that's what they had said. Apparently the Greys, now obviously I don't know for sure, apparently the Greys have cloned themselves so often that they need human DNA to kind of try and bring them back so that they can not have to clone themselves again, that they can just do it naturally. And that's why they keep, taking people off our planet. So I don't know, if, to me, a small part of me thinks that perhaps if they came to Earth and just said, hey, we need your help, it would be free. I think, the world would definitely change. But why sneak around other than not to cause too much of a ruckus, not because there'd be so many people that would be terrified and obviously try to capture them and study them as well. So maybe that's why they do it. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, I think if they did do that, there would be people that would volunteer to help them, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But, and also the other argument is, if they are here and they had a deal with Roosevelt or whoever, how long do you have to do this? I mean, you should have enough DNA now. So that's why I think their whole story is kind of shaky. Because, it shouldn't be continuing, ad nauseum. It should be over now. You should have enough. So that's why I think that's just a convenient excuse.
It could be too that maybe their science isn't there yet, so they keep trying and over again. I don't know.
It could be, but if they're if they're us, because I've heard that they're us and they're trying to go backwards or whatever. Why wouldn't they be technologically advanced? You know what I mean? So it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, the whole thing doesn't really make sense. No,
that's for sure. Can you describe any ships or anything like that, either from looking at them from the outside or being inside them? What are any other shapes?
Actually, I really can't. When I was trying to look at one of the rectangles from my, when I was in 28, I did see that a gray held my hand and walked out with me through a transparent wall. But then I black out. I can't see anymore. So that's all I can see is that when I left. And so I have seen like this one. It's not a gray. Actually, it's some sort of glowing blue, a transparent glowing blue being that was really tall. I was in their ship, and all I remember is that there was like these big giant walls, but they were actually transparent. They looked like windows. And you know how now, I guess on the windshields of some cars, because I've had to rent a car, there'll be like a number of the speed. It'll be right in the windshield.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's how similar it was. Or one of those tablets that are square and they're clear. Mm-hmm. And so that's how they controlled their ship, by putting their hands on the windows. So I don't know who that was. They were helping me, so I don't know. Or they pulled something out of my arm. Maybe they were pulling something out of my arm to study it. But I haven't really seen a lot of ships. I have seen, the standard shiny table that you lay on with a coffee can, like round thing. It's about the size of a coffee can. It has two little knobs on either side of it, and they pull it down onto you with a big arm, and they suck things out of you. But I haven't, I think that they wake me up when I'm on the table. You know what I mean? And then they knock me back out when they're done doing whatever. So I can only see certain things, and my mind will show me the gist of the information, not everything, not a play-by-play. Mm-hmm. But I have seen quite a few surgery rooms, like operating rooms. And a lot of times those are underwater. They look like it's kind of like a jelly shape, where it's sort of like, not a jellyfish, but sort of round, but like clear, but jelly-like, as if it's just floating in water. So that's all I've seen, and I haven't seen any while I'm wide awake. I mean, I kind of wish that I could see a UFO while I'm awake, but on the other hand, there's no way in hell I'm going to call one, by using CE5 or whatever. I don't want any part of that. Yeah. Because who knows who they are. And so no, I haven't. I wish I could say that I have. I must be the most unusual abductee because I've never seen a UFO, but
I'm sure you're not the first.
I hope
There's
not.
Gotta be others. Can you walk us through a little bit about your journey and how you started to fight back and what you did?
Sure. I was, trying to learn everything I could because I felt like there was an answer that I was missing somewhere. And so I knew I wasn't the only one. I read everyone's accounts. I read other people's books who were abductees. And then I also tried, like I said, I tried everything. So I left no stone unturned. But one of the things that my medium really thought I needed was to learn how to do hands-on healing. Reiki.
Yep. I
actually use one called Lao Chi, and that's in my book, the information. Mm-hmm. And I really got into it, and I'm kind of an all-in person. I don't, if I like something, I buy everything, that has to do with it. And so I took a couple of healing classes. One is called Angelic Healing, and that's an actual class that you can take. And then there's Lao Chi. I took Lao Chi, and I really liked it so much. And then I started, being all in and crazy in type A, and started looking on Amazon for other healing books. What other healing modalities are there that might interest me? Mm-hmm. And I found a book by Stuart Swerdlow called Healing Symbols and Archetypes, something like that. It's in my book. And I also thought, well, I'll just buy all of his books. He has a healing book, just buy them all. So I bought them all, and then I read them. Some, at first, they were extremely esoteric to me because it was a different way of thinking, you know? And so I thought, no, got to put this back on the shelf. He has a very large healing handbook, which I picked up, and it has 1 million ways to heal yourself. So I tried some of those. Some of them worked. Some of them didn't work so well for me. And then I just thought, some of this stuff is so over my head that I'm going to have to put it aside. And so I did. And it was right around that time, a year later maybe, while I was meditating with my spirit guide. And that's when I found out about the ETs. When I was looking for help, I kept asking for help and asking for help and asking for help. And they said, well, don't forget about these books. these healing archetypes and symbols book. You should read it now. And I read it, and it made perfect sense. It was the strangest thing. And I started using it at first I just started using it sort of cursorily, oh, let me try to figure out if I can use some of these symbols to help me in my regular life, and let me figure out what I would use this for. Fertility? No, I'm not going to use that one. And so I just really just started writing down in my journal the things that I did, the things that I didn't do. And then I started applying it to my situation with ETs. And once I did that, it was just like a big cave opened up, because I found that I could utilize some of the exercises that Stuart Swerdlow has. He has another book called Hyperspace Helper. And in the Hyperspace Helper, and actually all of the symbols that I used and the exercises that I used are actually in my book. But you can buy Stuart Swerdlow's book too. Figure it out yourself. I just started applying some of his exercises to using them against the ETs, and it really worked. And so because of that, I thought I kept using it and using it and using it. And I didn't use the exact way that Stuart wrote in his book, but I used my own way to figure out how to get rid of these ETs. And it really helped me so much that's one of the reasons why I decided to write the book. Because I thought nobody has come up with a unique way to use this book to fight off ETs. Why don't I do it? Mm-hmm. So that's one of the reasons I did it. But, it was just one of those things where you think, wow, this is helping me so much. And the medium didn't like it because it wasn't her idea. That's what I think. She wanted me to stay within her teachings, and her teachings weren't helping me. I really needed something else. Mm-hmm. So I went to her to tell her about it. She wasn't too happy, and then I stopped going to her. But prior to that, she had an angelic message night, and I got the message that I was leveling the playing field. And when I got that message, I realized this is really working. Mm-hmm. This isn't my imagination, it's really working. So once I got that, and then I got the negativity from my medium, I stopped going to her, and I just started using it all the time. And I started using it versus a trial and error way. And that's what you have to do. So in my book, I give a detailed roadmap of how I used it, and what I did and what I didn't do. And I tried to give as much information as possible. But one of the problems with using these methods is that the ETs will try to stop you. And so they'll use stuff against you. While so what you need to do is write everything down and just try everything. And you can reinvent the wheel, or you can follow my roadmap and then learn as you go. Because don't give up. Just keep going and eventually get rid of them. I've gotten rid of all of my ETs, and I'm very happy.
Good. I found it interesting that you were using remote viewing and crystals like moldavite, and I'd never heard of moldavite before, if I'm pronouncing it right. So I had to research it a little bit more, and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's a meteorite. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was interesting. I hadn't heard a lot of those either. I guess I ran across it somehow in my internet searches and heard about it from a friend, because I found that a lot of ET abductees are rock hounds. That's what I think is so interesting. Or people involved in the paranormal are all rock people.
Yeah,
and
me.
So yeah, exactly. And so I put that in there for the people who aren't, but I put a lot of stuff in there about clearing stones and that kind of thing. But yeah, those are, I think, all my people. I think it's just really interesting that I would be felt like drawn to some of these rocks, and they always ultimately help me. But yeah, I do love rocks and have my whole life. And it makes me wonder, I mean, if some of these things were happening when I was younger too, did that shape my choices or my interests, the rocks, or was it part of my history? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm particularly drawn to selenite and hematite. Those are the two that I'm very drawn to. Hematite obviously for grounding, and selenite for negativity and negative energy, which helps to also charge and cleanse other rocks. So those are my two favorites.
Yeah, that's funny. One of my favorites is, well, I love rutilated quartz. Is one of my all-time favorites. But I like hematite and I like sandstone together with hematite. I think it's beautiful and a beautiful combination.
Wow. I just had a thought. I remember there was a part of the book that I found funny, and I can't remember something about magnets and they're irritating the ETs. Refresh my memory. I can't remember.
It's okay. I had some rare earth magnets, and I thought, hey, I don't know what's inside of me, because obviously a praying mantis showed up and took out or replaced a implant. Hey, you know what I should do? I should just rub this rare earth magnet all over my body and see if it does anything. I mean, that was another one of those, I have nothing to lose kind of things, to see what happened. And that's what you have to do. You have to be kind of like a detective. Don't let anything set you back. If you have a weird story, write it down in your journal. I mean, decide if you're going to put it in your book. But these are things that we're just trying. We don't know if it'll work. We don't know if it won't work in our situation. So why not try it? You have nothing to lose.
Well, like you said, it's a lot of trial and error, because what might work for one abductee might not work for another.
Exactly. But you know what? When you're using the tools that I found by Stuart Swerdlow, in the way that I tell you to do it, invent your own ways. I mean, if you, that's how you learn and grow. You don't have to do what I did, but you can, and then go from there. Because I gave you a jumping off point, not to put you in a certain structure, but just get you started.
Yeah.
And so trial and error is the way to go for your situation. I don't know who's taking you or what they're doing or anything. All I know is, that's what happened to me, and that helped me a lot.
Do you know if anybody in your family, past or, anyone at all in your family, if they were abductees as well? Because you usually hear about that it's a generational thing.
Yeah, I do think that my dad was, or he saw something, I know it. He hated, I didn't know this until when he was almost passed, but he hated science fiction. He wouldn't watch it, he wouldn't read it, and it made me wonder, to have such a strong reaction about it, what happened to him? That he, has that strong reaction. The other thing too, and I wonder about this, and I don't know if it's true, but my grandmother had a psychic gift. And I wondered, too, if that was because a lot of ET abductees have psychic gifts, and it's from their interaction with ETs. So, all those people are deceased now, so I have no idea. Plus, it depends on the generation of the people. So do they talk about that kind of thing? I mean...
Right.
So that's another thing. I did try to talk to my mom about being a medium before she passed away, and she was very uninterested in discussing anything about it. So she was very religious, so, I don't know. I wish she would have been more open with me, but, it could be that she didn't know anything or couldn't remember anything. So,
or like you said, it's a generational thing, because even only 20 years ago, it was taboo. They didn't want to talk about paranormal and ETs and cryptids and all that thing. You just didn't talk about it.
No.
Or if you had any abilities, you kept that to yourself.
That's right. So, that's what I think, and I wish we could have talked about it more, but we just can't because of the generation.
It's nice to know that this generation now, people are a little more open about it, and they're starting to talk about it, and you're hearing more and more people saying, yeah, I've encountered that too, so it's more, and it's every walk of life. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor or what faith you are. Things are happening to people around the world, and it really makes you think.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, especially now, finally, with the government admitting that, things are actually happening, and I hope they atone for their horrible treatment of all the people that, they were ridiculed and made them feel like they were crazy or put them in a loony bin or whatever. But, for them to do that, it makes me wonder what's really going to happen, because they were forced into it, and they could only come up with 143, flying objects that they couldn't identify. And so, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
There must be more they can't identify. They're just saying that just to give us a little bit of information to satisfy people that, they're admitting now.
Yeah, I know, but I also think they're trying to control the narrative, so we don't know what they're really controlling the narrative of, but, they're trying to say, we said it first, and I'm finding it interesting that there's so many foreign countries that are much more open, and they're showing a lot more things on the news. Now, we don't often see it, we have to really dig, but it's there, it's really there. So I'm actually, and I think a lot of the newer generations really talk about things that we would never talk about, as our generation. You know what I mean? So I think it's really interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what else happens with that. And I hope we actually get some answers. I hope we don't feel bad knowing it. Because one of the problems with, being so angry and wanting to know the truth is that sometimes the truth is not what it's cracked up to be, but you have to be mentally prepared for the truth. So, and that's why I think fighting is good, because it gives you the strength to move forward, even if you find something out that you don't like.
Yes, like you said, the anger gives you the strength to move on. Sometimes anger is a good thing.
Yes, anger has helped me quite a lot in my life, so sometimes you just needed that extra motivation, to propel you forward. Because change is hard, when you accept things that are not the same as you thought they were. And I think that's one of the biggest hurdles that I faced when I found out about this, because, my little safe haven wasn't what I thought. And I think that's the worst part, is that realization that you really can't, believe. Here you have, this kind of like little bubble, and now you're like, oh my gosh, that's what really happened, So it is hard. It is a hard thing, and it's very scary. So anyone going through it, you're not alone. We are all scared, and but it depends, on whether or not you really want to know the truth.
Yep.
Or, learn some stuff, take a break. Learn some other stuff, take a break. Or, just decide that you just really don't want to know it. I mean, I think that's what a lot of people do, because they can't stop it. They can't control it.
Sometimes people feel that if they don't know, it didn't happen. And it's just easier for them to deal with that.
Right.
Whether that's a good method or not, that's just how it is.
Yeah, and there's also, this our society is so go, especially in the U.S., that, maybe they don't have time to deal with it.
Yeah.
You only have so much time in the day, and do you want to devote any time to that? Maybe not.
Mm-hmm. Well, before we sign off, do you have any advice for anyone who might be going through this and want to fight back?
I would say that read a lot of other people's, accounts, because you never know what little nugget's going to be in a book that speaks to you, resonates with you. That happened to me. I mean, that's what I've done. And that is very, very helpful. Get my book, try out some of these things. Now, if they don't work for you, then continue, searching. But also it's really helpful to become a remote viewer. Mm-hmm. Now, I've tried without success a couple of times trying to be a remote viewer, but remote viewing can really help you. Now, in my book, I call it Remote Viewing My Own Mind, and I use this exercise to do it, and that's very helpful. But you can also do a remote view to the future, or to the past. Remote viewing is a great skill, and not many people know about it. So they definitely should try it out. And keep your chin up. It's going to get better. You're going to learn some things, and you'll be okay.
That's great. I will be adding links to the show notes so people can just click, but can you tell people where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me at Abducted and Furious at yahoo.com. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my email address. My website is lisaoharaonline.com. And my book is on Amazon, and there's a link on my book to go to Amazon, or on my website to go to Amazon. I have it in Kindle and also in paperback. That's all I can think of.
Okay.
Oh, I'm on Facebook. I have
great.
a group called Abducted and Furious. And also I have a page, Abducted and Furious. My group is called Abducted and Furious with Lisa O'Hara. And it's just a group of people who, have similar experiences, and you can talk about them, and also, talk to others, to other like-minded people.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm so happy that you are a brave, strong lady. I'm thankful that you've written the book, although it's not something that I can relate to, but so many other people can. So I think this is a good stepping stone for people who think they might be going crazy or whatever, or feeling alone. This is really going to help them. So thank you very much for talking about your experiences.
Well, thank you for having me, and I agree with you. I think it's really hard to find people with negative experiences. I mean, it seems like the majority of people have positive experiences, and I had a hard time finding people like me. And so I hope I can reach you, and you can experience success with my book, and that you, continue searching for answers, and that you don't feel alone now. Because, people who, what happened was I was reading Terry Lovelace's book, Incident at Devil's Den, and I realized, oh my gosh, this is one of my people. And that made me feel so much better. Because when you realize that your very strange experiences don't set you apart, you're one of a group, I found that comforting. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to write my book, is like, you're not alone, you're not crazy, this is really happening to you. And especially if you have a husband or a significant other that doesn't believe you, it's really hard. It's hard to live in that position. It's hard for them too, because now they have a person that they didn't realize was their wife, or their significant other. So they have a hard time too. But you do too, because you can't talk about this with anyone, and it's just really hard. It's a hard thing to go through. So I just wanted people to know that I found a solution to my problem. It might help them, and that they're not alone, and that we can figure this out.
That's great. And I really enjoyed your book, so thank you again.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. We appreciate being on your show.
Just hang tight. I'm just going to, we'll chat for a couple of minutes after I stop recording, but thanks again. And everyone, if you think you've gone through anything like this, or know someone or suspect someone, reach out, because like Lisa said, you're not alone. It's there is a support network out there, and you just have to find it and keep fighting. So thanks again.
Yep. Thank you.
Well, we've made it to the end of another episode. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, take care of each other. And if you'd like to be on the show or have questions and comments, just drop me an email, paranormalheart13@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you.
Paranormal Heart would like to extend a special thank you to PurplePlanet.com for supplying the music for the show. The views and opinions expressed on Paranormal Heart are those of the host and participants.